So this class we will discuss about the integral analysis of the fluid flow. So we will derive the Reynolds transport theorem, which is very important in the integral analysis. So basically, what is the difference between integral analysis and differential analysis? Already we have covered the differential analysis. So we have derived the continuity equation, and we have discussed about the Navier-Stokes equations for momentum equation. So we have seen that the equations are expressed in terms of differential equations. So in a differential equations, if we will solve them, then we will get the detailed point by point knowledge of the flow variables. So but in integral analysis, if we are interested to find the gross flow behavior, then we have to follow the integral analysis. For example, suppose fluid is flowing inside a pipe. If our objective is to find out how pressure varies with space, how velocity varies with the space coordinates, then we have to solve the differential equations. But if our objective is to find out what is the total pressure drop inside a pipe flow, then it is a integral analysis. Similarly, if we are interested to find out the total lift force acting on a aerofoil, then it is the integral analysis. But if we are interested to find out the pressure distribution over the aerofoil, then it is the differential analysis. So Reynolds transport theorem is very important in the integral analysis. So we will discuss more about this. So what is a Reynolds transport theorem? So it is an analytical tool to shift from describing the laws governing fluid motion from the system concept to control volume concept. So in thermodynamics, we have discussed about the system and control volume approach. So all the physical laws like the conservation of mass, conservation of linear momentum, conservation of angular momentum, entropy principle, the energy principle, all these physical laws are basically applicable for a system. But we have also discussed that for a fluid flow problem, the control volume approach is more preferable compared to the system approach. So these governing equations has to be rewritten for a control volume so that we can use them in the control volume approach. So this is basically the objective of a Reynolds transport theorem. So what is a system and control volume? Already you know, but still again we will discuss this. The system is a collection of matter of a fixed identity. Basically a system is having a identifiable quantity of matter. So the total mass of the system remains constant. You see, the system of mass is moving. So at different times we have the system which is deforming to different shapes, but the total mass remains same throughout the system motion. But a control volume is a volume in space through which fluid may flow. A control volume is a fixed region in space, and through which these fluid particles are flowing. So one is system is a fixed mass, system is having a fixed mass, and a control volume is a fixed region in space, and a control volume is independent of the mass. So basically a control volume, for a fixed control volume, the control volume is not moving and the particles are moving, entering the control volume, and the particles are leaving the control volume. So generally the control volume is surrounded by a control surface, basically represented by dotted lines. So through this control surface, mass and energy enters, as well as mass and energy leaves the control volume. So the objective of studying the Reynolds transport theorem is all the physical laws are applied for the system. So like suppose Newton's second law, F equal to ma, this is applicable for a system, not for a control volume. So in fluid mechanics we prefer control volume approach. So F equal to ma, which is valid for a system, should be rewritten in a different form for a control volume, so that I can use the revised equation for the control volume. So what are the different the laws of mechanics? Basically, these all the laws are applied to either a system, maybe fluid or a solid system. So basically for fluids, the laws need to be rewritten to apply to a control volume. So what are the different the physical laws? One is conservation of mass. We write all the physical laws in terms of rate of change. In terms of rate of change. So for a conservation of mass, rate of change of mass of the system is 0, because for a system the mass remains constant. So rate of change of mass is 0. So how can you find out the mass of the system? By integrating. You divide the system into very small discrete elements, then you integrate the small masses, and the small masses is rho into dV. V with a line in the middle is the volume, and only V is the velocity. So in this way you can make a difference. So rho dV integration for the control volume, the volumetric integral will give you the total mass of the system. Similarly, second physical law is Newton's second law of motion. It is applicable for a solid motion as well as for a fluid motion. So it states that the applied forces is equal to the rate of change of the linear momentum. So P is the linear momentum. How can you find out the linear momentum? By integration of the velocity vector with the small masses. So B multiplied by rho dV will give you the linear momentum. Similarly, angular momentum, rate of change of the angular momentum is equal to the applied torque. So you can find out the angular momentum H, integration of the angular momentum is basically moment of the momentum. So position vector cross product linear momentum V into dm. So integration of r vector into cross product V rho dV. Another physical law is first law of thermodynamics. Basically it is the conservation of energy. If there is heat transfer, there is work transfer, then the internal energy of the system changes. So if we will express that in terms of rate basis, rate of change of internal energy of a system is equal to the rate of heat transfer minus rate of work transfer. So total energy we can find out integration of small e dm. Basically these capital letters are the total quantities and the small letters are total quantities for unit mass. So this is your extensive property and these are the intensive properties. So integration of E into rho dV, and E is the summation of internal energy, kinetic energy and potential energy. And the last physical law is the second law of thermodynamics. Basically this is the entropy principle, which states that the change of entropy is always greater than or equal to heat transfer divided by absolute temperature. So rate of change of entropy is equal to the greater than or equal to the rate of heat transfer divided by absolute temperature. So we can find out the total entropy of a system, and this is the specific entropy per unit mass. So entropy per unit mass equal to integration of this specific entropy into rho dV volumetric integral. So these all 5 laws are applied to a system. Now our objective is to convert them into a control volume. Then we can use the corresponding equations for the control volume to do the fluid flow analysis. So in general, for any extensive property, capital N is the extensive property. It may be the total mass, it may be the linear momentum, it may be the angular momentum, it may be the total energy, it may be the total entropy. And intensive property, eta we take, it is the extensive property divided by the mass. Basically these are the specific quantities. So N of the system is equal to eta dm integration for the system. So it's a volumetric integral. Dm we can express in terms of rho into dv into eta. Volumetric integration will give you the extensive property for a system. So if n equal to m, eta equal to 1, you divide all these quantities by mass, you will get the intensive properties. If n equal to p, eta equal to v, because p equal to mv. If n equal to h, eta equal to r dot v. If n equal to capital E, eta equal to small e. If n equal to capital S, eta equal to small s. Now the most important topic, Reynolds transport theorem. How we will derive this? So we choose a system and we consider the whole system as the control volume. So initially at a time t naught, the system and the control volume both are the same. So now after an increment of time delta t, the control volume will not move, but the system moves as per our definition. For a fixed control volume, so the control volume remains at the same location, but the system is displaced to a new position. So now we will get three regions: region 1, region 2 and the region 3. Region 1 is completely lying on the control volume. Region 2 belongs to both control volume as well as the system, and the region 3 lies on the system at a time t naught plus delta t. So at time t naught, system was entirely within the control volume. At a new time t naught plus delta t, system is partially out of the control volume. So now we will find out, because all the physical laws are expressed in terms of rate of change of the extensive property. So for any property n, extensive property n, what is the rate of change? The rate of change of the external property for the system, we can write down the definition of a derivative. We can express this in terms of limit. So limit delta t tends to 0, ns means extensive property for the system at t naught plus delta t minus ns at t naught divided by delta t. This is the definition of the derivative. So we have to find out what is ns at t naught plus delta t. Then we can put here and we will find out the rate of change of any extensive property. So now ns at t naught plus delta t, so system is this new location. So basically system properties at the time t naught plus delta t will contain region 2 plus region 3. So ns at t naught plus delta t will be n2 plus n3, because 2 plus 3 consists of the system properties at a time t naught plus delta t. So what is n2? N2 I can find out if I will subtract from the control volume. The control volume, you subtract the region 1 from the control volume, then you will get the region 2. So N2 I can find out as N for the control volume minus N for region 1 plus N for region 3 at t naught plus delta t. You understand? I think all of you understand this. And what is ns at t naught? At t naught, both system and control volume they are overlapping each other. So ns at t naught will be ncv for at t naught. So now put these values to find out the rate of change of any extensive property n. So put these values in the limit, so and do some little rearrangement. So we will get rate of change of any external property for the system is equal to limit delta t tends to 0 n for the cv at t naught plus delta t minus n for cv at t naught divided by delta t plus limit delta t tends to 0 n for region 3 at t naught plus delta t minus limit delta t tends to 0 n for region 1 at t naught plus delta t. So we are getting three terms, the term 1, term 2 and term 3. So what is term 1? It is the limit. So again we can use the definition of a differential. Okay, so this limit delta t tends to 0, this will be equal to del n by delta t for the control volume. This, because these extensive properties are for the control volume. So we are getting the rate of change of the extensive property n for the control volume. So again you can write down this extensive property in terms of this intensive property. You just integrate intensive property multiplied by the mass rho dV. So the first term becomes del by del t integration eta rho dV. Now term 2 and term 3 I will explain, which contains the region 1 and region 3. So you see, if you will approximate that, this region 1 is the control surface for region 2 and region 3 is again the control surface for region 2. So region 1 will act as the inflow control surface and region 3 will act as the outflow control surface. So through these regions the mass enters and mass leaves, the momentum enters, momentum leaves, energy enters, energy leaves. So if we will approximate this, so we will get the inflow condition for region 1 and we will get the outflow condition for region 3 for any property of the flow. So basically the term 2 contains region 3, it is the outflow. Okay, so limit delta t tends to 0, extensive property for region 3. Okay, so the term 2 becomes limit delta t tends to 0 integration of dn for region 3 t naught plus delta t divided by delta t. So it was the extensive property. If you will integrate for the intensive property, the change of n, then you will get this limit. So we are getting the control surface 3, the region 3 becomes a control surface, and through this control surface we will have a flow, outflow with a velocity vector v, and we will also have a outward normal. Okay, so there will be outward normal, which is, so this vector acts along the normal direction of the outflow control surface and velocity will have its direction. So there is a velocity vector, there is a outward normal vector to the control surface 3. So in this case you see, for the outflow control surface 3, both this outward normal and the velocity vector acting along the same direction. So the dot product we can use and it will be having the positive value. So this limit becomes limit delta t tends to 0 eta rho b dot dA delta t. How? Rho v into a, this gives you the mass flow rate, into time will be the mass flow. So mass flow into the intensive property. will be what? It is the extensive property. So that's why we have written this. So delta t and delta t will be cancelling. So we will get the term 2 as integration, but this integration is for the control surface 3. It is basically the surface integral eta rho v dot dA. So this dot product you have to be consider. So if it's a uniform velocity and velocity is also normal to the area, so this dot product becomes simply the product of velocity and the area. But if the direction of the velocity and the outward normal is different, suppose they are making angle alpha, then this dot product will be, you have to take v into dA cos alpha. Okay, so basically for the outflow conditions are positive, that's why. Similarly, the term 3 will be for the control surface 1 inflow condition. Similarly, term 3 becomes negative because the outward normal at the inlet, the outward normal is to the left, but the velocity is to the right. So the outward normal vector and the velocity vector are opposite to each other. So that's why at the inflow conditions, the term 1 and the term for the control surface 1 will be negative. Now replace all these three terms to get the rate of change of any extensive property n for the system is equal to del by del t integration Cv eta rho dV plus one is for the outflow condition, another one is for the inflow condition. So this outflow condition is positive minus inflow condition is negative. So the first term is a volumetric integral and the second two terms are the surface integrals. So basically outflow minus inflow, net flux out of the control volume. So flux means basically per unit time of any extensive property, mass flux. So mass flow rate, momentum flux, momentum per unit time, energy flux, energy per unit time. So flux means per unit time basically. So this is our the Reynolds transport theorem. So for any extensive property n for the system, the rate of change of any extensive property for the system will be equal to the del by del t rate of change for that extensive property but for the control volume plus surface integral of eta rho b dot dA. So this is your Reynolds transport theorem. So now we can use this term, the two terms on the right hand side, to replace for any extensive property rate of change. So this is all about the Reynolds transport theorem, which is very important in the integral analysis of the fluid flow. So next, how to find out the conservation of mass? So in the differential analysis, we got the continuity equation as del u by del x plus del v by del y plus del w by del z equal to 0. That was the differential form of the conservation of mass. But how to get the integral form of the conservation of mass? By using Reynolds transport theorem. So if n equal to m, we will get the conservation of mass. If n equal to p, we will get the conservation of momentum. If n equal to e, we will get the conservation of energy. Just replace m by suitable quantities, we will get different conservation equations. So rate of change of mass for a system is 0 because as per the definition, a system is having fixed mass. So dm by dt for the system will be 0. So the left side term in the Reynolds transport theorem will be 0. If n equal to m, eta equal to 1, then this is my Reynolds transport theorem, dm by dt for the system, del by del t, rho dv plus integration rho b dot dA because eta equal to 1 here. So this is the continuity equation. And for a compressible flow, rho del by del t rho you can take outside because it's a incompressible flow. So del by del t integration dv plus rho integration surface integral v dot dA equal to 0. So this dv by dt, if it's a non-deformable control volume, basically the control volume, in our analysis we will see that it's the control volumes are of fixed size, so volume do not change, so this term becomes 0. So only the surface integral of velocity vector and outward normal area vector will be 0, v dot dA equal to 0. So if it's a uniform velocity, suppose there are many inlets, many outlets, so at the inlet you use v1 a1, v2 a2, suppose two inlets a1 a2 are there, so minus v1 a1 minus v2 a2, and there is one outlet 3 suppose, so plus v3 a3 will be equal to 0. So in this way we can use the conservation of mass for any control volume problem. So let's solve a small example. So suppose a steady flow, so there are the fluid is entering on one inlet, fluid is leaving on one surface, and at cross sectional area 2 we don't know whether the fluid will leave or fluid will enter. A1 is given, A2 is given, A3 is given, fluid is lost out of a hole at 4. There is another location 4 where fluid is lost, it is also out. Out means positive, you take as per the definition. Outward normal and the velocity vector both are in the same direction, so outflow is basically positive and inflow mass flow negative. So v1 is given, v3 is given, so find the average velocity at section 2. So now system was given, now surround this by dotted lines, so it becomes a control volume. So this whole system is my control volume. So choose a fixed control volume by enclosing dotted lines. Let flow at section 2 is outward. So suppose at 2 the flow leaves the control volume. Assume that it's steady flow, assume that it's incompressible flow, and assume that uniform properties at each cross. So apply continued equation. If it is steady flow, it is incompressible flow, so the summation of the velocity vector dot outward area normal vector will be 0, summation. So b1 a1 all are vectors, dot products, plus b2 a2 plus b3 a3 plus q4 is the lost out of the hole at 4 equal to 0. So inlet at 1 it's negative, and 2 it's exiting positive, at 3 it's exiting positive, and at 4 also it's exiting positive equal to 0. So if you solve this, you will get v2 equal to minus 4.5 meter per second. So v2 is negative coming. Negative coming means it is inflow at section 2. So we assume that it was outflow condition. Outflow condition means positive velocity, but we are getting negative value for v2, so our assumption is wrong. So we will get the inflow condition. So at cross section 2 the mass will enter the control volume. So in this way you can solve the different problems using control volume approach. Now we will derive the momentum equation from the Reynolds transport theorem, for a control volume, inertial control volume basically. So the control volume is at rest or moving with a constant speed. So in this case, what is the capital N? It is the momentum, linear momentum of the system. So F equal to dp by dt. So this is the Newton's second law. So P system will be b dot dm, velocity multiplied with the mass. So integration of b rho dv. So what are the different forces acting on a control volume? So basically the surface forces and the body forces. So surface forces may be your pressure force, maybe your viscous forces. Body forces is basically the gravitational force. So now apply the Reynolds transport theorem. So already we know the different terms. So in this case n equal to p, so eta equal to p by m, nothing but the velocity. So your dp by dt for the system is this. So fs plus fb equal to this. One is a volumetric integral, another one is a surface integral. So for a uniform flow, if velocity is not varying, so at every inlet the flow enters with uniform velocity. Also at every outlet the flow is entering with leaving with uniform velocity. Then your summation of the forces will be del by del t v rho dv plus summation at different cross sections. So use the summation for all the momentum fluxes, v into rho b dot a. So this v dot a again, if it's inlet, so this term will be negative. If it is outlet, this term will be positive. And the velocity vector you can easily take. Suppose along x direction we will take a positive value for the velocity, for the x component velocity. Along upward direction we will take the positive value for the y component of the velocity. So these are the sign conventions. So body force is basically the gravitational force, and the surface forces mainly due to the pressure force. So pressure is acting, so this is also negative. So pressure is always compressive, and outward normal is in the opposite direction, so the pressure force is, we are getting the negative value. So we will get the three components of the momentum equation by replacing the velocity vector by its three components u, v and w. We will get the three momentum equations. Fx means the summation of all forces acting in the x direction is del by del t integration volumetry u component. X component you will take rho dv plus integration, but it is the surface integral u x component rho b dot dA. Similarly y component replace u by v. Similarly z component of the momentum equation, z momentum equation is the, you replace the z component of the velocity. Sorry, this is w. This is w, it is wrong. So w rho v dot dA. So if it is uniform flow, then the surface integrals will be the summation. But the choice of a control volume is very important in the analysis of a fluid flow problem. So let's solve a small question on momentum equation. So water flows steadily through a 90-degree reducing valve. So it's a 90-degree reducing valve. At the inlet to the elbow, the absolute pressure is 220 kPa and the cross-sectional area is 0.01 meter square. At the outlet, the cross-sectional area is 0.0025 meter square and the velocity is 16 meter per second. The elbow discharges to atmosphere. Determine the force required to hold the elbow in the pipe. So this mechanism is used to hold the pipe in position. So fluid is entering from here and fluid is leaving from here. So pressure at location 1 is given and pressure at 2, it's discharging to atmosphere, so it's atmospheric pressure, and velocity is given at the outlet and cross sectional area at 1 and 2 is given. So the question is, what is the force required to hold the elbow in position? So the first task is to draw a suitable control volume for this case, because we are doing the, so in this case we are finding the gross flow quantities like mass flow rate, momentum, the total force, all these are gross flow behaviors. So then we have to use the control volume formulation. So Reynolds transport theorem, integral analysis. So the whole elbow is the control volume. Flow enters at V1, flow leaves at V2. Now apply all the forces acting, because we are going to apply the momentum equation to find the force. So apply the forces. So along this, the pressure of the atmosphere will act. Along this surface, control surface, again atmospheric pressure will act. On the bottom surface, control surface, again atmospheric pressure will act. And on this left side control surface, only at the inlet P1 will act, and for rest of the surface at the left side the atmospheric pressure will act. So what I will do to make it simplified problem, how to remove all these the forces. So I will subtract atmospheric pressure from all these forces. So if I will subtract the atmospheric pressure, only force acting on the control volume will be P1S. So P1 is the S is the static pressure. If you subtract atmospheric pressure, the absolute pressure is given 220 kPa at inlet. If you subtract the atmospheric pressure from this, you will get the static pressure at 1, and at 2 pressure becomes 0 because it is exiting to atmosphere minus atmospheric pressure, so it is 0. And Rx, Ry are the two components of the reactive force due to this mechanism, which are helpful for holding the elbow in position. So finally I will apply the momentum equation to this control volume. So we are basically doing the force analysis at gauge pressure. So momentum equation is the summation of the forces is equal to del by del t integration v rho dv plus the surface integral v rho v dot dA, because in this case eta equal to the velocity vector. If n equal to p, eta equal to the velocity vector. Also I will use the continuity equation, already you know it's a steady flow, so this first term will be 0, only the second term you will get. So from the momentum equation we will get two momentum equations. It's a 2D flow, so x momentum equation and y momentum equation. So summation of all forces along x will be only this, because a steady flow, this is the first term is 0. So summation of all forces acting along x direction will be only this term, integration surface integral u rho v dot dA, but integration you have to do for inlet surface. So put the values along x direction. What is the force acting? Rx plus P1S A1. Both these forces are acting, they are positive, equal to this much. So Rx equal to this minus this, this. So U equal to U1 at inlet and V dot dA at inlet. Why it's a negative? Because this velocity vector and outward area normal vector both are acting in the opposite direction. So this dot product is negative here. So Rx equal to this. So how can you find out V1? Apply continuity equation. So there is only one inlet, there is only one outlet. So summation of net mass flux out of the control system, control volume will be 0. So at inlet its mass flow rate is this much, negative. At outlet mass flow rate is this much, positive, and summation will be 0. So from here you will get V1 equal to 4 meter per second. So put this velocity V1 in this equation, you will get Rx equal to minus 1.35 kilonewton. So we have taken that Rx will act upward, but actually Rx will act downward. Similarly, y momentum equation, what are the different forces? Ry equal to integration v rho v dot dA. So what surface integral for the cross section A2, B2 it's leaving in the downward direction, So velocity at 2 will be minus v2, negative. In the downward direction means negative for the velocity vector, but this dot product is positive. This is negative. This v is negative because it's acting in the downward direction, but this dot product for the outflow condition is positive because the velocity vector and outward normal is acting in the same direction. So again you are getting a negative value. Put these values, so you will get Ry. So the reactive forces Rx and Ry is known, and the resultant you will find out. The resultant force required to hold the elbow in position will be square root of Rx square plus Ry square. So this is all about the integral analysis of a control volume to solve for the continuity equation and momentum equation. Thanks.